Send this to your anemic friends. Parodic hyperostosis is the expansion of the bone marrow within the skull and is typically caused by anemia or related conditions such as thalassemia or sickle cell. Now, in plain English, blood is produced within the bone in the bone marrow, which contains blood stem cells. In regular bone, those openings are called trabeculi, but in the skull, they're called diplo. Now, anemia is a condition where not enough red blood cells are being produced by the body, and red blood cells are essential in the delivery of oxygen. So if you're watching this and you have anemia and sometimes you feel like you're gonna pass out, is because you are actually not getting enough oxygen. So in extreme cases, when the body is really not producing enough red blood cells for a prolonged period of time, it will actually start to create more bone marrow openings in order to increase the production, and this is what we see here, and it's called parodic hyperostosis. So what we can see here is that the marrow within the skull, or the diplo, is expanding, thinning out the top layer of bone, creating this porous, almost punched out like appearance in the bone. We can also see this inside the eye sockets, and here it's actually called cribria orbitalia. And this is really your body's last-ditch effort to try and create as much red blood cells as possible. We can also see porosity start to appear on the temporal bone as well as the mandible. Now, this specimen is pediatric, and it is not uncommon for children to have anemia, but what is uncommon is the parodic hyperostosis on the skull presents asymmetrically. For example, this is another skull that also has parodic hyperostosis, and you can see that here it presents symmetrically. Now, a non-pathological reason for parodic hyperostosis is actually living in high-altitude environments, as they have very thin oxygen. So not to scare you, but if you are severely anemic, this could be happening to you. Now, this one is not as severe. Here are examples of some skulls with really severe parodic hyperostosis, and you can see just how much of the skull has been affected. So that is a little bit more about the skull at the Bone Museum with parodic hyperostosis. Anemia is a very common condition affecting millions of people. So this is why you have to